Okay, this is going to be about how Zoom meetings are addressed and good ways of inviting people to them and how to get into them. I exchanged an email today with a faculty member who was accustomed to this workflow. She said when a Zoom invitation appears as a clickable link or in a calendar, she is totally comfortable hopping into it, but wasn't sure about the mechanics of setting it up. The first thing that I want to show you is the way this works. This portion of the link, the chunk of the Zoom URL that here is rendering as the numbers 477-275-154, that's like a street address. That's like your street address or telephone number. Anybody who has those 8, 9, or 10 digits can get to where you're going. If I have the magic digits of a meeting, I can go to Zoom and jump into that meeting. And it's in that regard that I say it's like a telephone number or a street address. It enables anybody to get in. There's an important exception to that, and I'm going to get to that in a minute or two. So when you click on a link in Google Calendar, essentially that's all you're doing, is telling a website, which in this case is Zoom, that you want to go into the meeting that's identified by those 8, 9, or 10 numbers. And similarly, that's basically all that you need to do to people that you want to invite to a meeting. Now, to actually be in a Zoom video conference, you need to be running the Zoom app. Scheduling a meeting works sort of just as well in the app or on the website. If you were doing it here in the app, you'd start with the schedule button, and all the options that we're going to address are right there. But you can also schedule a meeting from right here on the site. And I'm going to do it from here, starting by hitting schedule a meeting. A lot of this is very straightforward. We're going to go to the Pumpkin Festival. There are a couple of settings here I want to call your attention to. This require meeting password, this is the exception to what I showed you a minute ago about being able to just enter the 8 or 9 digit number. If you have this selected when you're scheduling your meeting, a person clicking a link does not need to enter the password because it gets built right into it. But if somebody's entering the meeting the way I did a couple seconds ago by just typing the number in, they will then be prompted for this password. But if you're putting the link in a Google Calendar, you don't have to enter it. The other box that we have checked by default at Colby is this one that reads enable join before host. In short, if that is unchecked, then nobody will be able to get in the meeting and interact with each other until you have come in and open it up. It's sort of like allowing people to get into the office before you arrive at the office or the classroom before you open it. I'm going to press save. And now this last step, there's a couple different buttons that you can push here. If you hit copy the invitation, it'll bring you to this screen with all the verbiage that Zoom gives us. The act of hitting copy meeting invitation means that you can then bring it and paste it into an email or anywhere else that you want to put it. And right up at the top, you've got that essential information. Here's the meeting ID and the password if somebody is going to type it in manually. Here's the part that you want to make sure somebody gets. There's reasons for everything below the line, but this stuff here that I'm highlighting in blue, either the link at the top or the meeting ID and password that they could type, these are things that'll let people find their way in. Now, if you hit Google Calendar, which a lot of us do at Colby because we rely so heavily on our G Suite implementation. All that that's doing is taking that same information and plunking it in here. A clickable address up at the top. And then this is exactly where that clickable address in the body comes from. So once we've got the Pumpkin Festival, then your third parties, which could be other students, then have a link that they can click on. And if Zoom's already running on the computer, it'll drop them directly into the meeting.